Our video is about the Moai. The Moai are stone statues of human figures which can be 20 meters tall. We can find around all the 900 of them on Easter Island, a Chilean territory. They were made from around the 10th century to the second half of the 17th century. They are all made up of a single block of stone. All except Paro, which is the only one with another block of stone on its head. The Moai are made of tuff and they all have been restored to look like the same they were to their construction. But how are these artifacts now exhibited in the British Museum? In 1868, some Moai were stolen by the British cruise ship of the HMS Topaz boat. They arrived at Portsmouth, a city in England, in 1869. The British cruise ship gave them to the Queen. Then she gave them to the British Museum. Two of them are now displayed at the London's Museum. Hoa Hakananai'a, which is thought to mean stolen or hidden friend, and Moai Hoa. For the islanders, the Moai have been stolen by the British. In 2018, they requested for them back. Hoa Hakananai'a is still on display in room 24 of the British Museum in London. Hoa Hakananai'a is a special Moai. It was still venerated in the 19th century in Orongo, a ceremonial place. The British found it buried in a house in the ceremonial village of Orongo. It had a ritual function. The other Moai, which are still on the island, were probably carved to commemorate important ancestors. They represent the spirit of the leaders, and they are said to be the Arunga Ora, the living faces of the ancestors. The Moai are really important for the islanders because they represent their culture. They are valuable. They are traditional artifacts imbued with the culture of the Rapa Nui people of Easter Island. For Great Britain, an imperial nation, these Moai are like war trophies. So it's important for them to exhibit them. These artifacts illustrate the power of this imperial nation. We can therefore establish a relation between power and art.
As we just said, a request has been sent to the British Museum for the return of the Moai Hoa Hakananai'a to Easter Island in July 2018. Then, a meeting took place in November 2018 between the British Museum and a Rapa Nui delegation, including Tarita Alarcon-Rapu, Easter Island's governor. It was her first time seeing this particular Moai that even her grandma has never seen before, but also that a Rapa Nui faces it since it was taken. The ladies started crying while talking about solutions to this situation after they sang the anthem of their community. To understand the meaning of this Moai, we just have to listen to when she says, "We are just a body, you, the England people, took our soul." Indeed, the Moai are sculptures that are supposed to represent the ancestors of the population. After a few months, a second meeting was organized in June 2019, where the British Museum staff flew to Easter Island. First of all, we can ask ourselves why the Rapa Nui asked for the return of this Moai. The answer is that those stones mean a lot to their community. It was still a venerated object when it was stolen, one of the supposed reasons why the English settlers did that, by the way. It forms their spiritual heritage, a part of their culture that's held by the museum. Furthermore, it's one of the most unique Moai because of its material. Even if the British have had it for 150 years now, it does not belong to them. That's why the Rapa Nui can legitimately ask that. But the museum does not seem ready to give it back yet. The official reasons are that the Moai has been exhibited in the British Museum, an international museum, for around 1.5 centuries, something that gave it a major visibility that allowed millions of visitors to know more about the Rapa Nui story and the relationships between countries during human existence. Also, They assumed the responsibility of the protection and preservation of the Moai Hoa Hakananai'a, something that could not have been respected in Easter Island.
The Moai for the British Museum constitute a major piece of art which contributes to the prestige of the museum and allows it to attract millions of visitors every year. For that reason, the British Museum is certainly not keen on returning the Moai to Easter Island. As far as the Rapa Nui community is concerned, they will not admit that one additional Moai on an island which counts hundreds of them will not materially change their lives and the attractiveness of the island. Furthermore, the Rapa Nui may also have waited so long to claim that the Moai belonged to them, so that we're again interested in Easter Island, but also to revive the tourist attractiveness of the area. They might therefore be satisfied with an agreement whereby the museum will keep the Moai, but the community will receive some form of compensation against that. The conclusion to the conversations between both sides is that the British Museum won't give the Moai back so easily, but they agree to collaborate with Rapa Nui in a memorandum of understanding. For example, by organizing mutually beneficial projects with schools.
Our opinions on the issue are nuanced. First, we cannot deny the fact that thanks to the Hoa Hakananai'a statues exhibition in the British Museum, millions of visitors from all over the world have the opportunity to see a Moai. Its presence inside the museum gives visibility to the history of the Rapa Nui statues and their meaning. And we're not so sure that people would have known about these statues if there weren't some of them inside international museums such as the British one. But when we pay attention to the reason why the Hoa Hakananai'a statues is in London, we cannot really close our eyes on the fact that the British looted it from the Rapa Nui nation. And taking this in consideration, we tend to think that this Moai must go back to where it came from. But we can also wonder why the people of Easter Island did not react sooner, because this happened over 150 years ago, and only that recently some of the population claimed the statues. After seeing the response of the British Museum, we believe they will never accept to return it back. Although it seems difficult to resolve this case, suggestions have been made by several people, including the Easter Island leader Natacha Oliveros. She proposed to the museum to bring the Moai back to the island for a limited period, and this would allow the inhabitants of Easter Island to see the statue with their own eyes and admire their cultural heritage. Of course, the Moai would still belong to the museum, but to exhibit it within the island in its original territory for several months or years could alleviate the tensions. And this option has a price, because you have to transport this statue that still weighs 4 tons. A truck, an airplane, and enough to protect the stone are therefore necessary to allow its partial return to the island. The inhabitants of Easter Island have another solution to bring back home the Moai. They, with the help of the Museum of Hawaii, work on making a replica of the original statue to then, in the future, give the replica made of stone to the British Museum with the hope of taking the original one with them on the island.
Thank you for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it and that you learned something today.